I never imagined I'd hear those words from my own son. Not at 10, not at 12, not ever. But there I was, standing in the kitchen, holding a coffee cup I barely sipped, while my world, everything I thought I knew about my family, crumbled around me. It started as a small argument over homework. My son had been reluctant, distracted, almost defiant. I tried to coax him into sitting down, explaining the importance of finishing his assignments, of taking responsibility. Simple parenting stuff, right? But then my wife, my partner of 15 years, decided to wade in. She didn't side with me, didn't offer a compromise. She questioned my tone, accused me of being too harsh, and implied that I didn't understand him. I sighed, tried to stay calm, and reminded her that we were supposed to be a team. Her response surprised me, not in its anger, not in its criticism, but in the casual, almost gleeful way she contradicted me. And then came my son's words, sharp and cutting, ones I wasn't prepared to hear. "He's more of a father than you." I froze, unable to process at first. More of a father? From a child who had been raised by me, who had seen every sacrifice I'd made, every sleepless night, every effort to be present? And then my wife smiled faintly, her expression almost triumphant, as if she'd finally won some secret contest I hadn't known existed. "Mom, he's lying," I stammered, trying to defend myself without escalating. But my son wasn't done. "No, he is. You're always gone, yelling, criticizing. Dad actually cares." I felt my chest tighten. Rage, disbelief, heartbreak, they all tangled together, a knot I couldn't loosen. My son was repeating lines he had clearly been hearing for months. My wife had been telling him stories, bending the narrative, painting me as the villain. And somehow, somewhere along the line, it had worked. I took a step back, exhaled slowly, and chose silence. I didn't want to shout. I didn't want to argue. Because shouting, arguing, it would only prove her point, reinforce her manipulation. The next days were worse. I realized just how much influence she had quietly wielded over our child. He repeated things I never thought he'd say, phrases I didn't recognize, ideas that undermined my role as a parent. And every time I tried to explain, to clarify, she was there, correcting me, steering him, framing my words as overreactions. Then came the moment I couldn't ignore any longer. I had discovered her affair. The small lies, the late nights, the secret phone calls, all pointed to someone else, someone who wasn't me. And here I was, trying to maintain normalcy in front of our child, while knowing that the woman I loved, or thought I loved, had been betraying both of us for months. I knew I had to make a choice, continue pretending everything was okay, or confront the reality and protect both myself and my son from further manipulation. I decided on confrontation, but carefully, calmly, publicly, in the sense of having witnesses, because she had shown me that alone, in private, she could twist the truth, shift narratives, and manipulate perception. The first step was removing myself emotionally. I stopped arguing with her about trivial parenting issues, stopped reacting to her criticisms. I focused on documentation, evidence of the affair, records of her manipulation, messages, receipts. Every interaction, every lie, became part of a pattern I could prove. Next, I built a routine with my son that bypassed her influence as much as possible. Weekends, evenings, and holidays were carefully planned to maximize positive, truthful interaction. I focused on open communication, listening, and creating a safe space where he could be honest without fear of judgment or manipulation. It wasn't instant. There were moments when he repeated things she'd said, moments when I felt invisible, moments when his loyalty seemed divided. But I stayed consistent, calm, and unwavering. And slowly, things began to shift. One afternoon, he came to me after school, eyes downcast. "Dad, I think Mom's lying sometimes," he whispered. And just like that, the first crack appeared in the wall she had built between us. We talked, gently, carefully. I didn't berate her, I didn't attack. I simply answered his questions honestly, helped him sort truth from manipulation, and gave him the tools to think critically about what he was hearing. It was a turning point. He began to question things on his own, started trusting my perspective again, started to recognize the inconsistencies in her stories, and in doing so, he began to rebuild our bond. Months later, after confronting her with the evidence of her affair, the betrayal, and the manipulation, she moved out. Legal processes followed, tense and draining, but necessary, and through it all, my focus remained on my son, protecting him, guiding him, and showing him what real consistency and integrity look like. The words he yelled that night, "He's more of a father than you," still sting in my memory. But they no longer define me or our relationship. Instead, they remind me how close we came to losing something priceless, trust between a parent and child, and they remind me why it's so important to act decisively in the face of betrayal, even when it hurts, even when it seems impossible. Today, we're healing, slowly, quietly, and steadily. Our bond is stronger, built on honesty and shared experiences rather than manipulation and deceit. And while the betrayal left scars, it also taught us both the value of truth, consistency, and the strength that comes from choosing to stand firm even when the people you love most try to break you. Betrayal can take many forms: infidelity, lies, emotional manipulation. But nothing cuts deeper than watching someone you trust turn your own child against you. And nothing heals faster than showing, through patience and truth, that love isn't measured in words alone. It's measured in actions, consistency, and unwavering presence.